Hello, Bonitas. Welcome back to the Be Bonita podcast. My name is Viviane. I am your host today. And we have here Dr. Arina Chesnokova.
Close.
Chesnokova.
Yeah.
Okay? Chesnokova.
Most patients call me Dr. C.
Dr. C, I love that. I love that. Dr. C is here. She is menopause specialist. She's also a health service researcher, and she's a trained OBGYN and assistant professor of Penn Medicine. Thank you so much for coming today, Dr.
Sure.
Irina.
My pleasure.
Yeah. So the first time I met you was at a event, which the main topic was menopause. And I really love the way you were able to debunk certain things and the way you carry the conversation with some, as I said earlier, in a very fun way, where for women that they are going through menopause, it can be a little depressive. So I am glad that you're here, and I'm excited for this, the few minutes that we're going to spend together.
Yeah, I'm excited too.
Yay.
Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. Yeah, it's a pleasure. So I would like to know, how did your experience with, going through Baylor, Columbia, and UPenn really shaped your approach to midlife care, women's, health?
Yeah, thanks for that question. First, a quick disclaimer. I'm here as an individual. I don't represent the opinions of the U.S. government or my academic employer. Just want to make sure that we get that out of the way. Disclaimer.
Yes.
And in terms of sort of how my training shaped my perspective, certainly there's no one particular thing that happened or one particular circumstance, and I've kind of had a winding journey to clinical care. I would say outside of training, the experiences that I've had outside of academia certainly shaped my perspective on midlife more than anything else. I'm an immigrant. I grew up in Russia. I grew up around a lot of poverty, and certainly my society is very patriarchal, let's say.
Yeah.
And sort of witnessing sort of the transition, the midlife transition in my mother, who's very private about it, in women around me, sort of the taboo and the stigma around the menopausal transition and anything related to women's health, right? All in the background of poverty and disadvantage and a lot of kind of societal disarray that was happening at the time certainly shaped sort of how I came to be in this space. And sort of from an academic perspective, right, everything has an answer or eventually has an answer for the most part. It's not only that this area of medicine is very neglected from a societal perspective, and certainly my personal experiences and growing up and all of that kind of seeded that perspective, but also from a scientific standpoint, right, this is one of the places that is exceptionally understudied and where we don't have a lot of answers, right, so that also was a big motivator in bringing me into the space.
Was that because you saw your mother going through it but not knowing what was going through with her?
Yeah, there was a lot of that, and there was also a lot of, again, stigma that people still experience, right? A lot of women who come to me still or have no idea what's coming, had no idea what was coming, have no idea what's happening.
What's going on?
Their mother never talked to them about it, right? And there's a lot of, grief around the loss of the life that was before, the reproductive potential that was before, right? But it was so taboo and so forbidden, and certainly watching my mom go through it was a big seed, but then again, the unanswered questions around menopause are also a big seed.
The same. So my mom, when I started feeling the symptoms, I believe I was in my early 40s. And I was like, Mom, have you experienced menopause? Because I was already researching. And she's like, no. I was like, So then 45, then, the symptoms start getting a little more severe. So I asked her again, and she said, no, I never had menopause. And then I thought, you know what, my mother was so stressed raising 3 kids and with my father, that she probably didn't know what she was going through. I do remember phases of her just up and down mood swings. But so now I have a sister who was 6 years younger than me, and she's watching me how I'm taking care of myself, and also she is a very advocate, just based on what she has researched about hormonal replacement therapy. So can we talk about that, and which women should be away from, and the benefits of HRT and so forth?
Yeah, the answer really, it depends, as with everything, right? And sort of the benefits and risks depend on a whole lot of different things, and certainly deserve a conversation with a clinician. But sort of in broad strokes, the benefits and risks for somebody who's going through menopause too early, meaning before age of 40, are quite different from somebody who's entering natural menopause, which on average in the United States is 51, 52. And for the most part, hormones are very safe, even though we've believed them not to be for quite some time now. For the most part, most women who are going through natural menopause are safe to take hormone therapy, and they have a lot of benefits, or might have a lot of benefits. So that's kind of the broad strokes answer. How's that?
In 60 seconds, that was possible.
Yeah.
And I know in that conversation also heard that there are some preventative benefits of taking them.
And certainly that's true, particularly for women who experience early menopause. So in my practice, I see a lot of women who are either facing a cancer diagnosis or have a genetic predisposition to cancer, or they receive treatment that sort of obliterates their ovaries, or they have surgery that removes their ovaries to prevent risk of ovarian cancer, for instance, right? There's certainly people who have cancer in their pelvis for other reasons, like anal or rectal cancer, colorectal cancer, and radiation to the pelvis produces early menopause. So for a certain subset of those folks, hormones are extremely important and are highly recommended for prevention of things like cardiovascular disease, early onset Alzheimer's and dementia, early fracture from early bone thinning, so osteopenia, osteoporosis. And we know that folks who have their ovaries removed prior to age of 45 or have their ovaries affected for some reason, or their ovarian function affected for some reason prior to the age of 45, have much worse outcomes when it comes to, again, early onset heart attack, Alzheimer's and dementia, cardiovascular disease, and all-cause mortality, meaning people die earlier if their ovaries are affected at an early age. So certainly for that age group, hormones are recommended primarily for prevention.
Wow. See? Thank you for sharing.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's good to know. So then what is the number one menopause myth that you would love us to know about it?
I think there's a lot of confusion about the word bioidentical and what that means.
Break it down.
And it's partially, let's say, our fault, and by us I mean the medical community. When the results of the Women's Health Initiative trial, which is a big trial, the results of which came out about 20 years ago, when the results came out, everybody sort of, and we can get into why, but everybody freaked out and everybody went off of hormones, and hormones got a really bad rep, and everybody said that hormones will cause breast cancer and heart attacks and blood clots and all that kind of stuff. And everybody just, literally, there was an immediate plunge in both initiation and continuation of the use of hormone therapy among everybody. And as we've now figured out, that was an inappropriate response. But nevertheless, when that happened, menopause still happened. Like, people still went into menopause. People were still really symptomatic. Yeah. And we know that 80% of women experience hot flashes and night sweats that are very bothersome. So most people who go through menopause will have symptoms that need treatment, because it takes you out of work, it takes you out of life, it takes you out of your own body, like you need something. And so what people turn to is instead like these bioidentical compounded hormones that were, and folks sort of filled a niche when that niche happened, when that vacuum happened because of the WHI and all of the sort of the medical community pulled out of treating menopause essentially because of that trial. Something else filled in the void. And what happened is compounding pharmacy started sort of direct-to-consumer advertising and distributing what they called bioidentical or personalized hormones. Unfortunately, that route is A, not studied, B, not safe, C, not regulated, and even though those pharmacies sort of filled in a big void, it is a route that's not recommended and not desired for a couple of reasons. The advertisement of sort of a bioidentical compound sounds very attractive. But in fact, we do have bioidentical or body-similar molecules and hormones that are available through the FDA process. So what bioidentical is supposed to mean is receiving estrogen or estradiol and progesterone that are identical to the molecules that your own body makes during reproduction. While your ovaries are still functioning, there's a bunch of hormones that the ovary makes. The predominant hormones are estradiol or 17-beta estradiol. That's the predominant estrogen in the female body during reproduction. And we have that specific molecule available that is bioidentical or body similar through an FDA-approved process that can be prescribed. Unfortunately, when people think of the word bioidentical, they think compounding, they think pellets, they think
like old school.
Sort of stuff that's outside of the traditional healthcare system. And that's unfortunate, but that's not sort of, there's no difference necessarily in what the traditional medical system is able to offer in terms of the actual molecular formulation. However, those formulations are regulated.
And it's safe. Because it's regulated, and that's why you're saying that. It's just like, for me, just add a little twist. When clients ask me, oh, can you recommend a vitamin C for me that I can get it from someplace else? Yeah, but I cannot tell you that it's going to work because, one, I don't use it. Two, I'm not trained on. And three, there are many forms of vitamin C. So I would say you feel the same, but it's on a hormonal level. Yeah,
essentially, I know what you're getting when you go pick up a bioidentical hormone patch from pick your retail pharmacy of choice. I know what you're going to get because the FDA knocks on their door and says, hey, you manufacturer of patch, can I check what you're doing? Can I see what's in the patch? Can I check the dose? Can I see what the delivery is like when somebody puts on that patch? Can you tell me how much the person is going to get in terms of their levels? And that makes me confident that when I put somebody on it, I know what the result is going to be. The unfortunate reality, and it's not the fault of the compounding pharmacy or whatever, is that nobody knocks on their door. So, they can put whatever they want in there, and the concentrations can vary. And there's no recourse. Like, if something happens, if you end up with too much or too little or this or the other, there's no way to remedy that.
And so then what is the risk if someone buy a compound version? Like, have you seen cases in your clinic?
All the time.
What is the worst case that you have?
Essentially, everybody who comes to me from a clinic or a compounding pharmacy that's pellets, for instance, everybody is always too high on their testosterone, always, 100% of the time. Everybody has too much testosterone when they do testosterone pellets, for instance.
Wow.
And the side effects of that are often obvious, like people have facial hair, people have voice deepening. Oftentimes people complain of clitoromegaly, and a lot of the times, particularly voice changes, are not reversible.
Wow.
And of course, when women go on testosterone in menopause, the goal is not to transition. No. The goal is to, for most of my patients, the goal is to remain biologically female. And folks don't sort of enter that process understanding that a lot of the changes that might come about are irreversible.
Very, very important. Thank you for explaining the difference, because with misinformation on social, you get a lot of those patients because testosterone is going to give you life, energy, but then you end up with other things. Not only that, in confusion. And yeah, so I'm so happy that we covered this part. So what is your number one advice for women embracing midlife with confidence?
I think a lot of people come into midlife with fear and grief of the loss of the life that was, whatever that life means. And there isn't a lot of positive messaging around midlife and menopause, and everybody just loves a negative soundbite on social media and otherwise. Yeah. Because that's how our brains work, and we feed off of negative energy, right? Yeah. But for the most part, for most of my patients, it is a really, really positive change. In one, like, we can manage the symptoms. It takes a little bit of time to figure it out, but 99% of the time, I get people to a good place where they aren't as symptomatic, and they have sort of the transition, the physical symptoms and a lot of the emotional symptoms under control, so there's help. But once we get kind of the physical part kind of wrapped up and taken care of, it is a really freeing moment, a really freeing transition. Like, you don't care as much about what people think.
Hey, I'm there right now.
Yeah, you just don't. Yeah. And sort of a lot of that anxiety falls away. Yeah. There's less of the immediate caretaking of the children, if there were children in the picture in the first place, and a lot of people find a lot of freedom in the empty nesting. People find new hobbies and new interests. If there is a transition out of a long-term relationship, people find a lot of joy in finding themselves in other partnerships. And if there is a long-term partnership that continues, people often find new sort of juice and a fresh flavor. And a lot of fresh flavors in those relationships. So I think a lot of my patients just end up having a whole new life. And
I'm
it's
glad
great
you said
to see.
that. I'm also happy to hear that, because, as you said, the image of a woman that is going through that phase it looks like a white woman with gray hair, saggy. That's the pictures that you get on Google. But you don't see the other side. There are so many other cultures that really celebrate this phase of a woman's life, and there is a respect and reverence towards that. And so my job as someone that is on social and someone that really caters to women is to remind that, and I share that with them, and also share what I experience, and then also what I have found that helped me to be in a place of peace now, where it's more manageable. And so they love that. And so, okay, Viv, tell me more. Do you have a website, a blog, or a YouTube that I can learn more about it? So that's why we do this, because it's great information, and it changed the idea of a woman that is going through menopause. She's crazy. She's dry, and all of that. And there is beauty in there. And so I'm so happy that you touched on that. Do you notice a difference when it comes to menopause? Do you notice a difference from a Caucasian woman embracing this phase versus a woman of color? And this is black and brown all over the world, because you have a practice, you probably welcome everybody. Yeah.
The majority of my population is actually from West and Southwest Philadelphia. So I mostly take care of women of color, actually, in my practice. And I don't really see that much of a difference in terms of people's ability to embrace this transition. I think I'm just going to leave it at that. I don't really see a major difference in sort of people's ability to find joy if they're directed in that space.
Let me speak from space. Let me speak from that place. So for what I have noticed, or what I just gather from clients and in my community, is that there is, to find out they're going through menopause, it's very late, because they're already under stress and they don't see themselves on Google Images. They see more Caucasian women going through. And thank God social media had kind of spread, you know, the information and kind of different influencers and, you know, authorities, influencers on that level had kind of talked about the difference in race background, communities, social economics, and all of that. And where some, and you can tell me if that is true, you know, women of color or Asian descent, they do have different times where they start experiencing menopause sooner or later than Caucasian women. And it depends on their diet, depends on what they're exposed to in that community, that culture. Would that be true?
So we do have one large cohort study. It's called the SWAN study, or Study of Women Across the Nation. And it is the largest longitudinal study that has followed women from different communities across the United States over time who entered into menopause and for several years after. So we have quite a bit of data that's based on self-identified race and ethnicity from that study. And what we see in that study is what, as you said, there are differences by race and ethnicity in terms of when people start experiencing symptoms of menopause, how long do they last, and the severity of those symptoms. And if we look at sort of the traditional comparison, which I'm not sure if it's the right comparison, but it's the one that we use commonly in research and otherwise, is when we look at women who self-identify as Black or who are minoritized as Black or African American, experience earlier onset, longer duration, worse severity of symptoms compared to their white counterparts. And sort of, you know, that's where it's been kind of left for a long time to kind of sit as a fact. And most likely, sort of the origin of that difference in experience comes from racism, both structural and individual racism, and the experience of racism and weathering that then introduces earlier onset, mostly hot flashes and night sweats. It's a similar sort of likely biological association or cause of racism, specifically as we see in things like hypertension, cardiac disease, etc. But has that been rigorously studied? No, as most things in midlife.
Right.
And yes, there is a difference when it comes to women who self-identify as Asian. That's a huge group, right, of different subgroups, ethnic subgroups. But generally speaking, on average, Asian women experience menopause that's less severe and later in onset when it comes to hot flashes and night sweats in particular. But certainly there's a ton of Asian or self-identified Asian women who experience menopause as severely as anyone else.
I was reading something that because of their diet, like eating a lot of soy, kind of helped them to delay that process, or it's not as severe as the rest of the world.
And there might be some truth to that. There was a randomized study of diet in particular. I mean, it is a pretty drastic modification if one were to pursue it. But at least from the study that we can tell that it works, that folks were put on a very strict vegetarian, almost vegan diet with a lot of soy products, whole grains, whole vegetables, you know, not a lot of sugar, not a lot of processed food. And folks did see a dramatic reduction in the experience of hot flashes and night sweats. But if you grew up your whole life not eating like that, then it's going to be a really...
trying to do this now.
Very few patients take me up on it.
So let's talk about you now.
Oh boy.
So someone like you that take care of, you know, the world, how do you take care of yourself?
I wish I was taking care of the world.
The world of women's health. Let's, you know, it's very specific, and I know just based on, you know, the beginning of this podcast, you really share your background and your mission to really find the answer, or to find solutions to kind of minimize this discomfort or this misunderstanding about women's health, and also specifically menopause. So you as a woman, I'm sure that you take good care of yourself because you know the body and you have the solution through medicine. So how do you care for yourself and while you're caring for other women?
Yeah, I mean, I try to walk the walk, right? So I tell people that they have to eat this and that, and they have to lift heavy, and they have to invest in their bone health and all the boring things that people don't want to hear about.
Yeah.
So I do those things.
Mm-hmm.
I do a fair amount of, resistance training, even though it's boring. But if I tell people they have to do it, I have to do it myself, right?
Yep.
Make sure that I get enough calcium and vitamin D, I want to be that fly 80-year-old,
yes,
right? Going
too.
down the mountain with my grandchildren. Like, I don't want to be that saggy white lady with white hair on,
But you're Russian, come on. You guys look amazing.
On that quintessential picture that you sent.
Listen, the ones that I know, they look amazing.
I mean, some do and some don't, right? Like,
That's true.
Our culture is
That's
also
true.
very like meat and potatoes, and it's not,
Yeah.
it's not the whole grains and soy products.
Yeah.
So I just, I think all of us have to know what it feels like to make the recommendations that we tell people come true, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I'm as busy as anybody else, so if I am going to tell another busy lady who has 2 jobs and barely makes it to clinic and still has a kid in the house and grandkids, and she's on Medicaid, and it's hard to get medications if she comes to see me, and I tell her that, hey, you got to do these things, I better be doing them myself too.
Yeah.
And tell her that it's possible.
Yeah. So when it comes to skincare,
you have all the answers. I hope.
You can ask me questions. Just take this time to get a consultation.
It'll be embarrassing how little I know about skincare.
So when it comes to skincare, it's again, it's moisture and engaging the cell to turn over, so we get elasticity slightly back, and you have a glowing skin.
Yeah, you have beautiful skin.
You have beautiful skin too.
I appreciate it.
You don't want to share your routine?
I think, like with everything, right? It's what we take in.
Yeah.
That's most important.
I believe
and
that.
genetics.
Yes.
And then maybe a little bit of product. At the
Sunscreen.
In that order. Yeah.
Vitamin C and sunscreen.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I do that.
Good.
Yeah.
Good.
And moisture. I think
And moisturizer.
And I wash my face. Most of the time, twice a day.
Very good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that's pretty good.
So you cleanse.
Yeah.
You tone.
Yeah, just vitamin C.
Vitamin C.
Yeah.
Moisturizer.
Yeah.
Sunscreen.
Yeah.
Are we exfoliating?
No, but I do tretinoin.
Okay, of course.
Yeah.
So
At
that's good
nighttime.
enough.
Yeah.
So how
I hope
often
so.
do you? How often do you
I'm
use
getting
it?
a grade at the end of this, right?
You're pretty good. You're
So far,
doing
so
very
good.
well.
Okay, good.
Yeah. So how often do you use the tretinoin?
Like 3 times a week, maybe.
Very good. Do you change in like seasonally, like summer? You kind of step back, or
Never
winter?
Go outside. Come on. And if I do, it's like mineral sunscreen all over.
Very good. Very good. So vitamin C and vitamin A is a must to support the skin. Period. And of course, moisture is everything, especially when you're using tretinoin. But
I have a question for you.
Sure.
Do you notice a difference when people use estradiol cream on their face?
I do have a particular client that she's Caucasian, and she's mid 50, and she's been working with me, I would say, over 10 years. I did notice the difference once you start using it. Yeah.
There's some early data that says that it's safe. I have no issues with safety of estrogen on the face, but that it does improve elasticity quite a bit. And a lot of patients ask me for it. I'm happy to prescribe it. And it's essentially like, it's vaginal estrogen. It says vaginal estrogen on the bottle.
Okay.
Just put it on. It's just cream. Just put it on your face.
Can I make an appointment?
Yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah. But that's good to know. Good to know. Good to know.
I mean, obviously, people shouldn't be rubbing it all over their body. And those we do have a few case reports where people just
It's all over. And the arms.
Just all over it. And at that point, and like if you're doing it all over your body all day, every day, then yes, you're going to see some increase in your like blood estrogen levels. So don't do that. But like, you know, just one thin coat on your face every couple of days is okay. Lots of my patients really like it and say that they see a difference.
Good to know. What is the name of it?
It's just Estradiol cream. It's the same, again, it's like Bioidentical or Body Similar or whatever you want to call it. It's 17-beta estradiol, but it's just in a cream formulation. And it says vaginal, but it's, again.
Is it, so it has to be prescribed?
It does,
okay. All right. I'm going to make an appointment after this. Dr. Irina, thank you so much for coming.
Oh, my pleasure. We could do this for hours.
I know. I'm like, oh my gosh, more questions. Let me see what I can ask her. Because even myself, so now I feel very good. But I also, yes, I do have a question. So women that they have underlying issues such as PCOS, or they had the uterus removed, right? Or even lupus. I do have a client. How can she find out if she's going, not going, if there is anything that can help her to understand this phase of her life as well?
Yeah. So I think another important sort of plug for folks out there is help is available, but help is hard to find, right? Help that's reliable is hard to find. There is a designation of like a menopause certified practitioner, but there's not enough of us for everybody. So people sort of have to spend some time looking if they can't find one in their area.
Find Dr. Irina.
I mean, my first appointment is currently in December.
Better than ever.
Yeah. So, you know, you have to be patient, but it's often good to see somebody who knows more about menopause as opposed to having a touch point, making it to an appointment and being told like, hey, I'm actually really uncomfortable with this, or being given something just because somebody wants to give you something and doesn't actually know what it's all about.
Yeah.
In terms of PCOS is not a contraindication to hormone replacement when somebody goes through menopause. Having a uterus out actually makes you much lower risk for hormone therapy altogether because you don't need the progestogen component. In terms of lupus again overall is not a contraindication in itself. It depends on what else is going on in the person's life. A lot of times lupus travels with kidney problems, things like that, so we have to think about that a little extra carefully. But certainly just finding somebody who's knowledgeable that can guide them is a good idea. And if you're hearing something that's like, oh, I don't know, or I'm not sure, or, you know, just deal with it, or how about next time?
Yeah, right.
It's probably, that person probably doesn't quite know, and that's okay. Like, not everybody is good at everything, right? Yeah. Like, primary care docs have a lot on their plate, right? They manage diabetes and high blood pressure, and, you know, if somebody breaks their leg and comes to them, they have to, all of that they manage, right? And OBGYNs, a lot of us do deliver babies and do prenatal care, and that's a lot of, like, information that you have to keep up to date with. That's really important, right? So a lot of folks don't, you know, when they focus on the reproductive stage, don't always know a lot about the post-reproductive stage. You know, I don't do any obstetrics anymore, thank God. So I can focus a lot more of my mind on this phase of life. So it's not anybody's fault. It's more of like you just have to find the right person.
Specialize, laser focus, and I love that today we have menopause specialists like yourself that can go laser focus and say, hey, these are the phases that you should be aware of. You know, come and see me this amount of time, we can bump it up, whatever prescription you prescribe to her, but also your way to acknowledge how menopause has affected that woman, where going through mood swings, she might not know what's going on. I had an experience where my primary, 2019, I was 44. And it was, my perimenopause symptoms was getting a little like, okay, something is going on. I was feeling depressed. I just lost the lust for life. And so I was doing the research, and then I said, can you suggest a gynecologist, because I feel like I'm going through perimenopause. And she's like, because I'm feeling this way. She said, oh no, you're too young for that, and I can prescribe you some antidepressant. Because I already had done the research, I was like, yeah, you gotta go. So then I fired that. And then I got another doctor. She said, a woman, because I very intentional who I do business with, and also to be able to even relate to as a woman. And so a second primary was the same way. So I was like, you know what, let me just continue to do my research and look for experts. But at that time, none. And I think the menopause conversation started, 5 years ago?
So.
After, during the pandemic, and I think, the last 2 years.
We're having a moment, yeah.
The celebrities, out of the closet.
Yeah.
And then now everybody is speaking about and also giving resources for them to understand even further. So where can a woman that is going through that transition, midlife transitions, really find good information and experts that they can go and find out how they can take care of themselves?
Yeah, so the Menopause Society website is the place to start.
Okay.
And there is a database of menopause certified practitioners on that website. And it's relatively comprehensive, people I think now list where they take patients and insurance and things like that. So that's a great place to start. If there isn't a person that's close to you in that database, or they're not taking patients or whatever it may be, starting with a primary care doctor, but asking the right questions like you did, right? You're like, I think I'm going through this. And if somebody says, no, you're not, or it's too early, it's never too early. There's lots of people who experience early ovarian insufficiency, and you don't know.
Yeah.
That's not the right answer. And again, they mean their best. Yeah. They do their best. Everybody does their best. Nobody intends harm. But unfortunately, at that point, if you're being told something that you're not experiencing or being dismissed, then it's time to sort of ask a question of, okay, clearly we're not communicating. Is there a person who knows more about this phase of life? Who would you recommend? Do you know anybody around? I really want sort of to have this conversation around the transition, around the menopause. Please send me to another person. I just would love to have some advice on that.
Yeah.
And if not, there is some trial and error that's involved in terms of finding a practitioner. But there, you will find somebody.
Definitely. Now, with what is the name of the website again? We're gonna
so it's
have
the Menopause Society, and it's menopause.org.
Okay.
Yeah.
Awesome. And you're gonna be listed there, of course.
I'm in the database, yeah. But there's also great there's patient-facing videos, there's information, and it's all, it is evidence-based. It is an evidence-based resource.
Okay, great.
So what you see on that website has been vetted, is based on the research that we do have. When we don't have an answer to a specific question, it is explicitly stated as such. It is just a really great source of information for menopause specifically.
Awesome. Yeah. Awesome. Again, thank you so much for coming.
It's my pleasure. Thanks for having me.
All right, Bonitas. So I'll see you on the next episode. Have a great day. Ciao.